Ja, willkommen zurück an all jene, die gestern.
So welcome back to all of you who participated also yesterday. For those of you who are new, welcome to the Austrian Tourism Days 2022. Yesterday was hosted by the Austrian Economic Chamber, and we had two interesting panel discussions on the topic how we can create and we can design tourism for the future, and that's where we want to continue from. And welcome to this panel, and you can see that this room, this hall has also been redesigned and is looking so it's really nice, and everything looks new. So welcome to all of you, also those who are sitting in front of the screens at home. We're very happy to have you here or with us. So hi. In Stabica, and we are rethinking, redesigning, that's the topic, redesigning, rethinking tourism in the future of traveling. Yesterday, I walked around in the hall, and also today, and I have to say that the atmosphere is really positive, is quite good, and yeah, that's no wonder, because we are here finally physically, and we can see each other face to face, and we can talk about our business and how to further develop our business in these difficult times. There are some segments, some parts where it is going quite well. Some others have some concerns about their area and some issues to tackle and to handle. So they need some time to recover after the COVID and the pandemic. So the cities are at the center of our attention today in this panel discussion in the post-COVID era. So we'll look at it critically, and in the city tourism, we will talk about the city tourism and how to come back into city tourism and to come back to the success we had before Corona. So we will do this with representatives from politics, from economy, and from tourism, experienced colleagues from our branch. And I would like to present them now. First of all, the highest State Secretary for Tourism, Ulrike Rauch-Keschmann. A warm welcome to you. Then we're very happy and pleased to have him here. He is Chief Commercial Officer at Austrian Airlines. He's member of the Administrative Board and CCO, and responsible for the network management, purchase and purchase department, and responsible for the brand of Austrian Airlines. Michael Dressel. Mr. Dressel, please have a seat. And now Norbert Kettner should be here. He's the CEO of Wien Tourismus, but he is ill. Unfortunately, he's not here today. We send you our greetings from the ATB, and then we show how flexible we are in the tourism branch, because we have a substitute for him, tourism section or chairman of Salzburg, of the tourism section of Salzburg, Bert Brucker. Then I would like to welcome the president of the Austrian Event Association, ACB. He's also the president since 2018 and World Future Council president. He will also contribute with his point of view and how it will be able to again restart city tourism in Austria. Gernot Stübe, a warm welcome to you. Please have a seat over there. So as you can see, there is one seat left, and I would like to call another colleague here on stage, She is not a tourism expert, but she's an internationally very experienced consultant. She works for Roland Berger, who you all know, a strategy consultancy, strategy consultancy agency, and she's the managing partner of Roland Berger. And Roland Berger gives a important contribution to the future of tourism, to the discussion of the future in the future in tourism, and she will give her contribution today with the survey they made in this regard. And I would warmly like to welcome Gundula Pelli. Thanks a lot for the invitation, and I'm really pleased to have this presentation here and to present the survey of Roland Berger on the future and of long-distance mobility. Before presenting the single results, I would like to give you some information on the background of the survey. Our survey is a global survey with a focus on Europe, the US, and China. And we have different dimensions that we analyzed in traveling. We asked and interviewed 7,000 consumers, and we talked with 200 experts and then summarized it in this survey. And the study is always continuously updated. The next update is to be expected in the second half of 2022. I want to start with a picture which you might already know from or something similar. Maybe you have already seen what happened in 2020 when COVID started. The aircraft had there was a heavy impact on the aircraft due to Corona, and a drop in the turnover. And the question that we ask our experts and our consumers: can we come back, and can we come back to the level of the pre-COVID situation? So maybe for Europe this is not a satisfactory or fully satisfactory answer. On one hand, the interviewed people said, yes, we will return back to the situation before COVID, but that will not happen immediately. It will it will take some time, and the values that we had, or the numbers that we reached and achieved before COVID-19 will not be achieved immediately. And I have to distinguish between private and business traveling. In the private area, the private area will recover faster than the business area. In 2022, 2023 in the private area, and in 2030 the business traveling area will recover or reach again the level that we had before COVID. In China here, we see a faster comeback. In Europe, in our study, we saw that this recovery will take more time. So I would like now to talk about some details of this study and the question that we posed to the 7,000 consumers that we interviewed in the framework of this study. We asked them how was their traveling behavior before COVID, and how many journeys did they do before COVID, and how will they behave regarding traveling after COVID, when the restrictions will be abolished. And we see in Europe that on the average we will have in the business area a drop of minus 24%. In the private area, the numbers are a bit better. We assume that there will be a minus of 20%. But compared to the numbers of 2019, it is a significant reduction. So this is based on the interviews that we did with different consumers. So if we split it up in age groups, we can see that the younger people interviewed from 20 to 35, they are less restrictive in their assumptions, and they assume that they will not restrict their own traveling behavior that much, but from 46 to 55, we are above the 24% or the 20% even. So if we compare this data on Europe, on the right side, we see the 20%, 24 and 20% reduction. And so we're in the first place and regarding, in the negative sense, regarding the reduction. In the US, it's a bit better regarding the private area, that the recovery effect will take place earlier compared to Europe. And then we have China on the left-hand side. I would like now to talk about the reasons. So why we have this minus 24 or minus 20% in Europe. And I would like to talk first about the business area. We asked people what are the reasons why they assume that they would travel less in the future after COVID. If we look at Europe, we have the top 3 reasons for business journeys, business traveling, and they say that the virtual mobility is replacing, and many times will replace or often will replace traveling and the journeys for business, because we have seen that in the online meetings and online events worked out well during COVID, and in some parts they will also be maintained. So COVID was then also connected to sustainability goals, and so they take this as a chance or opportunity to work to elaborate their traveling regulations within the enterprise, also in different companies. And so this is a reason why some are not traveling for business, and the regulations also by the governments are also a reason why there will be a reduction, or a reduction is assumed in the business area. And if we have a look at the private sector, the reasons are a bit different. So the first place, we have the regulations as a reason for the reduction, and on the position 2 and 3, we have this rethinking based on a environmentally friendly thinking, so that we say, okay, why do we have to take this journey? Why do we have to travel? Is it really necessary? And then also the reason of health, so the concerns about personal health. So maybe due to Corona, some may be a bit reluctant. And so in the private area, the recovery will take place earlier, but there is still some reluctance, and some decisions are questioned, and maybe people are more reluctant to book a journey or travel after COVID, after the COVID restrictions will be abolished completely. So this takes me almost to the end of this short summary, and this for us means that there is a certain trend. So there is a shift from in the business area and the private area. So the private or the traveling for private reasons will maybe compared to the traveling for business reasons will increase. So the share of private traveling will increase compared to the one for business reasons. And then we have the area of leisure traveling. So we can combine a business trip with a private tour or private visit. So, for example, I have to go to a place for business, and then in the weekend I will stay in the city and visit the city privately. So I will combine business appointments with private time, with leisure time. And so the reason is that people want to reduce the number of or the times they travel by combining business with private traveling. So this is a trend, and we have to understand how we can use this trend in the future and commercialize it also and use it and trace some benefits from it for our cities and the city tourism. That already brings me to an end. Now I would like to open the discussion. Pleasure travel. This will be a new trend. We will talk about it also soon now. So the survey showed that the traveling behavior changed, and this has an impact, of course, particularly in cities or for city tourism. But what can we? How can we take a benefit from it? Mrs. Rauch-Keschmann, so the business trips will recover and come back to the level that we had before COVID, only in 2030, as we saw in the survey. So I had to ask myself, is the glass half full or half empty? And this is very interesting. If we look at the future, the microphone is not working well. So please check if your microphone is on. Sorry. Well, then let's start once again. When Mrs. Polly started her presentation, I was always asking myself, is the glass half full or half empty? Yes, we talked about this yesterday, but we saw, is the way back really the right thing, or do we have to look forward and take new ways? We are talking about a sector that grew a lot and was a driving engine for growth in Europe and in Austria. The city tourism was a driving force for economic growth. So before COVID, before the pandemic, the city tourism was always really, really important. So it was an important factor. We had 20,000 of congresses and events. If we look back, and then we also had business meetings, individual business meetings that also contributed to improve and increase the tourism and the number of tourists in cities. So this shows that business tourism is an important part of tourism, but also the lack of events, also sports events or other events, concerts and so, contributed strongly to this reduction of the city tourism. But now let's go back to what I said before. We saw that the capacities now are fully used again in many places in the rural areas in Austria, but in the cities we still have some problems. The development is less dynamic in the cities, and that's why we wanted to push city tourism or the initiatives in to push city tourism again and discuss the opportunities and chances we have. So focus on neighboring markets maybe, and concentrate on guests and tourists in neighboring countries who maybe before would have done long distance journeys and now would be ready to come to our cities. So pleasure tourism, this is also something we should discuss. And I'm looking forward to this discussion. Of course, the pandemic had an impact on many areas and especially on tourism. Of course, this has to do with business trips, with private traveling. But 2030, we will be back, as we said, according to Mrs. Belli, at the level of the situation before Corona. But according to you, can you also see in your environment, can you also see the same development? Yes, I can fully agree. We as aviation, we in the aircraft sector, we were affected by the consequences of the pandemic very early, and of course we're still affected by it, and we will still be affected longer than others, because we have to see that there are different developments in different regions around the world, and in the longer distance tourism, we will see also an impact on our tourism in Austria, also city tourism, but there are still worldwide global restrictions in China, Japan, also other countries still have restrictions, COVID restrictions, and this also affects us. We are a global international enterprise, and so these things, these developments and these restrictions, of course, have an impact on us and affect us strongly. And but the differentiation between a business trip and a private trip cannot be made so strictly anymore, and that's interesting because sometimes they are combined, these things, so leisure time tourism or pleasure tourism, vacation, and all these are terms that we already know in the city, and it was significant for us already before the pandemic. And now we see that this is coming back, and we're really glad about it. And recently now we are at 80% again compared to the level that we had before the pandemic. This is normal because Austrian Airlines is now smaller than before. During the pandemic, it was reduced, and the dimension of the company is now smaller. So with the 80% of our fleet, we have now a production that is 20% higher than before the crisis, and this is the consequence of all the things that we talked about before. And of course, the pandemic is still a driver. in the business area, but it will take time in the business area for the business area to recover fully, more than the private area. So this is encouraging us, and but nevertheless. We were talking about the Asian market where we still have restrictions, the US, China, South Korea, Taiwan. All these markets affect you as well. They are important for the city of Salzburg. And are you concerned in this regard? Yes, in the beginning I was concerned, but now in the meantime it is not a big concern for us anymore. 50% of our bookings come from abroad, from guests coming from with long distance journeys, and so we had to ask ourselves, how can we compensate that now? But in Austria and Germany, we increased the numbers now from Germany. From 140 to 200,000 in July and August only. So the strongest months that we have. So we increased the bookings and the guests coming from Germany. We have good predictions regarding the US from the airport of Munich. They have good connections to the US, and they festival, the Passionsspiele, have a big influence on this. Some 100,000 come from overseas and want to see this Passionsspiele, and so they are staying for 15 days, and they will visit Salzburg, of course, but also other Austrian cities, and therefore we have already some bookings in this regard in other cities as well in Austria. And the American market will recover this year slightly to 78, will reach 70-80%. It will not reach the pre-COVID level, but it will reach the 70-80%. Then the Asian market, in 2022 something will happen here as well, but 2023 we think and we predict that from Singapore, Thailand, China, and other Asian countries we can expect guests. Sorry, not China. This will not work, of course, because the COVID politics there will not make it possible to travel abroad for the Chinese, and this will not change before 2023, 2024. Nothing will happen in this regard. Regarding China, but on the whole we are very optimistic. The European market will become stronger, the American market, so USA will be again coming back. Regarding China, we will need to be a bit more patient, but some other Asian countries will also come back. So we give hope to other experts in tourism. This Passionsspiele are a magnet, and this shows us again how important big events are to attract tourists, and how important they are for tourism, not only for the hospitality industry. So events and festivals always contributed a lot to tourism. And how do you see the situation at the moment regarding COVID? The Congress area and the Congress business really suffered a lot because it was reduced to zero for 2 years, but I can say that for the future, as far as the bookings are concerned, I have to say that it looks not so bad, and the rest maybe will come back and recover a bit later, but I think as far as traveling is concerned, through this change that happened in this studio, we see other skills and competences which are required to offer the services to our Congress guests. In the future, we need interface managers, and these are topics and skills that are new for project leaders, project managers in the event management, and we have to deal with it. And something that we're also concerned about and we have to deal with, and Mrs. Polly presented it well, because this is always good to have an official study that is outlining and confirming what we assume. So maybe the situation will not be like before in the area of meetings, of congresses. And we ourselves in the National Tourist Office, out of 4 meetings, 2 are online still. And I hear it also from responsible parties at the university. The content of congresses will change in the future. So it will be more a Wikipedia system and not only a monologue by a professor where students will gather and collect information. So 2019, the level we had 2019 is something of the past, something part of history. So we cannot go back to that, but we have to change in the future. And here we have to connect with policies, with the politics and politicians, and we need their support, and we need to redesign this area. This also confirms what you said. Maybe it is not about coming back and recovering and having the same level like before, but we have to look forward and have new concepts, redesign our concepts. We'll talk about it later. To my mind, it was very interesting when Mrs. Polly talked about sustainability. We talked about it yesterday as well, and it's also influencing travel behavior. It becomes more and more important. We are more aware of it, of course, but on the other side, maybe it is also a bad side that through this awareness, or isn't it a threat also that through this awareness, city tourism is declining? Yes, maybe we have to reflect and think about it. Of course, there's one thing is the awareness of being environmentally friendly, but we have also to think about the working conditions of people working in tourism. Do we want to have a fair tourism branch with fair conditions for people working in tourism? So when we talk about sustainability, we have 3 dimensions, and these 3 dimensions should be considered when we talk about tourism. And with the pandemic, they became more important. And with this situation, we have now the chance to rethink things, to to ask ourselves what it is really about. It is not only about the adventure, the experience, about faster, higher, better. It is also about the question of the sense of the journey. And this is what we have to do in tourism. What are our guests expecting from their journeys, their experiences? Because only then we can be successful as a tourism country. And this makes me optimistic again, and tells me that we have an advantage as a tourism country, because we decided to have quality instead of having mass tourism. We want to offer the guests more, and we want to use the value chain and the creation of value well. And therefore, I like this approach. People who come here for a congress should also take a vacation here, so they will get to know at the same time also the country as a holiday destination. So, and recognizing this is important now, and we need to, but it needs all of us together, and we have to come together, and different areas from the economy, politics, all, we need to come together and work together to achieve it. So business trips, there is coining and characterizing the city tourism, and therefore it is a concern. You are a consultant as well. You are out and about, and you talk a lot with people, with entrepreneurs. What is the feedback they give you? That's a good question. We are, as a consultant, of course, as consultants, we are traveling a lot. Normally, before the pandemic, we traveled 4 days or 5 days a week, and so most of the times also by plane. And this was nothing strange. And basically, in the area of consultancy, and when we work together with entrepreneurs, we see that that people are thinking differently when they now do a conscious meeting online, because they see that it's possible. It's possible also to do a meeting without traveling. And I think this will become, the new normal will become a hybrid approach. Not everything will take place online, because people want to go out. Some meetings make sense if they take place physically and if you can talk face to face. But I think that it will not go back to the situation we had before the pandemic, and it will not be something obvious we do if we have a meeting that we meet each other face to face. So and travel for a meeting. The meetings taking place within companies will, I think, take place more and more online. If it is an external meeting with more people for 2 conference days with a nice program in the evening, external events, yes, they will take place also in the future. And I think this will be the new normal. We will find ourselves again in this situation, and this will become the new normal, I think. Yes, this is exactly what this conference is also about. We are here live, face-to-face, physically, and also, but it's a hybrid event as well. So people are sitting in front of their screens and also taking part. So yes, this is something that also the Austrian Airlines already introduced and integrated in their concept. So now I would like to know from you, what are the measures and steps that can be taken immediately now to push city tourism again, and to have success again in city tourism. I want to come back to what Mrs. Pelli said. So this mix between business trip and private trip, this could be a solution. What can cities do in this regard? The cities should do what they know best. The cities are centers for adventure, for specific adventures. They have all the prerequisites to be successful also in the future. We have traffic hubs. We have the infrastructure, tourism infrastructure. We have hotels. We have stadiums. We have Congress centers, event locations. We have all this, and people, of course, also in the future, they want to experience these things as well. And the cities are the centers of history. The cities are full of museums, all tourist attractions, big sites, historical sites. All these things are in the cities. They take place in the city. They want to experience culture. They want to see concerts. They want to be at the concert, and they want to come to a festival. And when there is the Champions League, of course, 50,000 fans will come and together with the team. And so this is something obvious, and the city must also try to point this out. And Salzburg is a historically a center which grew historically, and it will remain a historical center also in the future. And this will be also the aspects or the reasons why people will come to Salzburg. The Salzburg Festival, will remain a reason for people to come and visit Salzburg, and guests will come to Salzburg. Of course, we have to communicate it well through different channels, to all the possible channels we have, and there is no reason, finally, why we should complain. The big cities should be in the foreground. We must put them in the foreground again, and we have seen it with Salzburg. As soon as it was possible, we came back within 3-4 months. From almost zero, we came back to 70-80%. And therefore, I think the city tourism will recover. It has the potential to recover. And of course, there's a lot going on in the cities, and there is a high potential to offer a lot of adventures and experiences for guests. But leisure, this is clear. People will want to travel, and traveling is something beautiful. There's something great. And of course, there's the issue or the topic of mobility and connected to sustainability. But what happens inside the city when they are already there is sustainable, because actually people are walking around, they visit attractions, they go for a walk, they will have lunch, they will go to a restaurant, they will not destroy anything because they are just there, and everything they use, the entire infrastructure they use, is used also by the citizens from the city. So I don't see a big problem in it. Regarding the tourism in the city, of course, mobility is always a big topic, and a lot will happen in this regard, but there are already changes going on, and these changes will make it possible to be ecologically sustainable also in as far as mobility is concerned. So you're talking a lot about the attractions, so we'll we almost want to leave for a city and visit it. Congresses will be important in the future, but as Ms. Pally said, maybe in a different way. The digital tools came to stay, but what can we do to convince people to want to do a journey? So if there is a destination and I have a real reason and motivation to go there, then it can be on the other side of the planet, and I will want to go there. So therefore, we have to understand what can we offer our guests in order to motivate them to come, so that they really want to come. And people who deal with this for decades, they will feel that this is confirming what they are doing for decades. This is becoming more important in the area of congresses. If I have a good reason to go to a certain place, if a professor will not only read out to me what I can already or I have already read in a book, if I have really a good reason to meet scientific partners from all over the world, and I can develop something together with them and start a cooperation with them, then there is a real reason, a good reason for me to take off and travel to Vienna, for example. And if we look at the numbers in 2019, per capita turnover of 500 euros were spent per person. And in the area of private traveling, only 300 euros per person are earned. Then we really have a good reason to push this area again and to promote it. Then we have to consider also the impact that the Congress has on a destination. So I need highly qualified employees, workforce, and through the contents of the Congresses, I can attract different universities and experts, so scientists. So I also have another second benefit. So the message is we must listen and be ready for all event planners and organizers in order to make them aware that this is the purpose, that we have to concentrate on this, and this will be the future purpose. And we know that Germany is strong there, but Austria is also very good and strong as well. And if we will be able to use that benefit, then we will be successful. Yes, creativity is a key word here. And Mr. Trestel, now back to you. Also, your situation is difficult. And so through the pandemic, of course, we have a decline in flights.
There is so much happening. And yes, so let's talk about the events. I mean, it's not easy nowadays, but, you know, we grow with the challenges, and the challenges, we take them up. And to see the problem and to put it into relationship, into the context, it's always useful to go away from mainstream and look at the facts and figures. The fact is that the worldwide the airspace and everything is in Germany we have less, but we have 4%, and from 4% CO2 emissions, we sometimes have a bashing on the short distance flights, and there we have more or less 3%, which are short distance flights. The problem is there and it's a serious problem. However, it's a problem that we have to consider in its reality. What are the recipes? On the one hand, we have compensation, secondly, avoidance, and thirdly, technological advancement. We are working in a very consequent way on a program to work for the future so as to make CO2 emission traveling possible without CO2 emissions, so CO2 neutral emission traveling. And I don't know if we can make it, maybe by investment, new technologies, the technological advancement in the flight technology, turbine technology, which is very considerable and good. And one of the biggest parts are, of course, what shall I put into what kind of petrol should I use? Then maybe fossil emissions is one of the main drivers of the answer is investment in the sustainable fuels, so sustainable aviation fuel, where we start. And in Austria, in the year, we have a partnership with 500,000 tons of synthetic sustainable aviation fuel, which is the first step, which is enough for 33 flights between Vienna and London. And it's the first step where we as an industry area can prove ourselves and prove that the production of this synthetic fuel can be used to export the technology into the countries where we have more efficient energy. And this, we have to describe it well, and we shouldn't prohibit it, because I think one thing unites us all, and the so-called knowledge that we from Austria, from the international connectivity, we live from that, and the economic standard, especially the tourism, as part of the big connectivity, international connectivity, and therefore we should look for to have a pioneer role in sustainable aviation fuels. We should not feel embarrassed to go into an aircraft. We should think, how can I compensate it? How can I, when I buy a ticket, have the mixture of this? So especially also when you travel for business, it becomes more and more important when you book a flight. Good. This tells us again that we're thinking newly in the corona pandemic, tells us to go new ways, to be innovative, creative, and take these concepts and go into the future. I think it was a lot of input today, especially also many new topics that we discussed. So what do we need? A conclusion for everything what we said. What do we need to have a town tourism and bring this forward? Thank you so much for all the inputs in the discussion, and these have fulfilled that. And some of my colleagues have talked about it. So from the experts, from practice, this has been taken up. Now it's about taking out the tourism out of the crisis. There was a lot of money that was invested and a lot done for tourism, and we tried so much and take the small structured branch and bring it through safely. And now it's all about the companies and the staff members, to give them a perspective, to give them a framework so that they can work to bundle forces and to strengthen Austria. And all my predecessors said, especially the economic effects, that it has to be our goal to make Austria more attractive and to position it. And I'm so happy that we're doing this together. And especially with the Austrian, in the area of convention, that we set certain measures. We've got a strategy that we've developed in the last few months, where we have several measures with a convention focus. This is not a coincidence with the Austrian tourism days. And here in this area at the moment, we've got 30% of the budget on the communication within these areas that we have our own town campaign, and that we can continue this. So end of April, we had the invitation of Minister Köstinger, where we invited her and many experts. We discussed and said, what does she need? And together from the Austrian advertisement and the town strategy, where we had one of these wonderful models of working together, all the capitals sat together to have a togetherness and to think about what to do. And without these strategies, it's all about two things. On the one hand, the business of today, to stabilize it and to see a stronger communication. How can we do B2C, B2C, what markets can do business on an international level, and how can the businesses support to set foot on it again. And it's also about a long-term business, with the business of tomorrow. You see these innovative products from which we've discussed today. What are the benchmarks? What do others do? And just to look beyond your backyard, and where are the markets and the productivity, where can we continue? Our most important partner in this is the Austrian advertisement, and luckily we managed to do this on the federal state, that Austria has the means, we are aware of it, and we have new tasks coming up, and we managed to do this since 2002, where we had a heightening of budget, a regular budget, not the 24 trillion, but it's going to be a restart, and this is a strong signal where together with the companies we can go together. And this is a daughter company of ours and the Chamber of Commerce that with full force we can look into the future. And there I'd like to say a big thank you to all my colleagues for everything that has been made here on these Austrian tourism days, that we can go out in the world. They can't watch it yet because they're still at work, but it's wonderful what's being done here at this event and what it needs to look in the future. We need courage, we need new ideas, we need innovation, we need motivation, but we also need this security. I think to be here again, it's so great, and see people here on a personal level that we haven't seen for the last 2 years, and then meet up again, and then to be able to put our arms around them, and nobody can take that away from us. And then in the last few days, we've really done this intensively. It won't be the last problem that's we're going to face, but I think the cup in Austria is quite full. Very nice. Some red, white towns. So this underlines even more that every change brings chances, to take the chances. In the end, hand in hand, innovative concepts. Here we have these that are presented, and we're going to make it. And Frank Diamond and Mark Cashman talked about it and said it's all about it as well, to be optimistic, to be self-aware. And with optimism, I'm going to end this, because the towns are motivated, and in the towns in Austria, with this optimistic vision that we have after the summer seasons, I would like to send you out, and please, please, now you look and be happy about our reports from the different towns. We from the tourism are expecting a good season. We know that our guests who want to come to Innsbruck, we are happy to, looking forward to welcome them. With our urban structure, we would not only want to welcome our people, but also new people from different regions. Linz is strong. Thanks to its campaign, Linz is Linz. We had great resonance towards this, and we are absolutely sure that with our way and means, we're going to come across authentically. And I also see the good future of tourism after Corona. We're expecting this summer guests, night guests, day guests after 2 years. We're also looking forward to have international guests, not just German guests. German-speaking. We have also a big volume of congresses in the tourist area, and at the moment nobody can tell how high the segment really is going to be. So in this area we have the classical town and culture tourism. That's going to take a bigger role. We're expecting a good summer season. We're very sure that we're going to welcome a lot of new guests from the German-speaking area. What really helps is our strong partner, the King's West Games. And as a holiday guest, it's always nice to offer them the mountains and the sea, the lakes, and the positive development of the Congress, of course, as well. My very positive view into the development of the towns and the vision of the future in the town tourism. This optimism of the colleagues should really be taken up also from this event of the Austrian Tourist Days 2022. Great thank you also to all of you, to all four of you. It was really, really great to be with you and to go into the discussion with you and all the impulses that you gave to us today. So a big thank you to all of you. We are here live, so maybe you'd like to stay here. And thank you very much to all of you, the ones who were here online as well via our live stream. Thank you. This was it from the Knowledge Campus, Austrian Tourist Days 2022, but it's not finished because tomorrow we still have a great, interesting day with lots of program, which you should make the best of. I wish you a very nice evening and a valuable discussion here in the Austrian Touristic Days, and all with the motto, Redesign Tourism Now. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.
So viel, so viel, was ausgestreut ist. Danke. Stärker, gell?